Hey guys, today we're back with an interesting video. Remember to like and subscribe and let's get into it. Just off of the title alone, this might be a bit confusing, but stay with me. The way this show handles aspects of its power system is very unique and not something you'd expect from such a cultured series. A quick plot summary of Highschool DxD, if you've never heard of it, is a perverted kid named Issei gets catfished by a fallen angel and ends up getting killed by her. However, he's resurrected by a beautiful devil named Rias who attends his school. In his resurrected body, he is reborn as a devil and is thrown into the world of the three great warring factions: the angels, the fallen angels, and the devils. Additionally, Issei has some dragon abilities, but that's not important for the scope of this video. As a species, all devils have enhanced physical abilities, the typical stuff like super strength, endurance, hearing, and night vision. They also have a retractable pair of wings that they can use to fly. To balance this out, devils also have a crippling weakness to God and anything associated with him, such as light. Devils also come in various forms and power levels, with the main distinction being between pure-blooded devils and reincarnated devils like Issei. During the Great Wars in the past, the majority of pure-blooded devils were killed, putting the devil faction in a desperate situation. In order to resolve this, an extremely powerful devil named Beelzebub created the evil pieces to restore the population of devils.
チェスってボードゲームのあれですか？
主の私がキングで、女王クイーン、騎士ナイト、戦士ルーク、ソードビショップ、兵士ポーン。着衣を持った悪魔はこの駒の特性を自分の下僕に与えているの。
駒の特性？
私たちはこれをイービルピースと呼んでいるわ。
The defining trait of the pawn is its ability to promote into other pieces when instructed by its king or while in enemy territory. The knight is worth 3 pawns and gains increased speed and mobility, allowing them to perform high-speed attacks and maneuvers. Their main weakness is their low defense, making them vulnerable to powerful attacks. They also have an Achilles heel in their legs, as if they are injured, they become essentially useless. The bishop is also worth 3 pawns and gains enhanced magic abilities, able to conjure up a multitude of spells. They must be careful, however, as powerful spells will consume most of their magical power, which puts them at risk of physical attacks. The first major piece is the rook, which is worth 5 pawns. The rook gains superhuman strength and high offensive and defensive capabilities. In exchange, they suffer from low speed and can be outmaneuvered fairly easily. The last and by far most powerful piece is the queen, which is worth 9 pawns. Queens possess all the characteristics of knights, bishops, and rooks, making them the most balanced piece. Queens also typically serve as the second in command to their king in the peerage. Before we do get further into the video, I do have to make a very important distinction. When devils fight each other, they do it in a raiding game, where every piece is in active use and a goal is agreed upon by each king, usually having to do with an objective and/or taking down the opposing king. Raiding games are usually the most interesting battles, as they involve a lot of strategy and not just who's stronger. Some good battles do happen outside of the raiding battles, but they don't really contribute to the scope of this video, as I'm looking at team tactics and how the evil pieces are used. Now that the basics of the power system have been explained, let's see how it actually works in practice. During episode 3, they encounter a stray devil who must be eliminated. Rias, the king, sends her knight Kiba to probe the enemy with his speed, and he manages to cut off 2 of its limbs. The stray devil, enraged, starts going through a transformation and attacks the rook Koneko. Koneko easily throws the devil off of her with her insane strength, and to ensure a finishing blow, Rias uses her queen Akeno, who absolutely obliterates the enemy. In the next episode, we see more of the niches each class fills, as Rias and Akeno, the king and queen, must confront the bulk of the enemy forces, while the knight Kiba, rook Koneko, and pawn Issei must confront a very strong enemy swordsman. Kiba uses his extreme speed to kite his attacks. For some reason, the enemy swordsman also has a gun, but this ends up being no issue as he can't hit Kiba for shit. The enemy swordsman switches his tactics to close range combat and goes blow for blow with 𝓗𝓗. Seeing an opening with this, 𝓗𝓗 promotes to a rook and goes for the finishing blow while taking incoming fire. As for the regular fights I'm showcasing today, that's it, but now we have a rating game to go over. This rating game takes place at the end of Season 1 and pits Team 𝓗𝓮𝓷𝓽𝓪𝓲 against Team 𝓗𝓲. The battlefield for this rating game is a replica of the school 𝓗𝓗 and all her pieces attend, which gives them an advantage in terrain. The goal of this game is to defeat the enemy king, with pawns able to be promoted if they manage to invade the enemy area. 𝓗𝓗's team is the heavy underdog in this fight due to being outnumbered, so let's see how they decide to operate. 𝓗𝓗 and her team start brainstorming for what their opening moves should be in the game. They determine that they should take the gymnasium as it's close to their base. 𝓗𝓗 then assigns 𝓗𝓗 and 𝓗𝓮𝓷𝓽𝓪𝓲 to this attack, as a rook performs better in enclosed spaces when compared to a bishop or knight. Advancing to the gym, 𝓗𝓗 and 𝓗𝓮𝓷𝓽𝓪𝓲 are encountered by a rook and 3 pawns. 𝓗𝓮𝓷𝓽𝓪𝓲 tells 𝓗𝓗 she will take out the enemy rook while he takes out the enemy pawns. Meanwhile, 𝓗𝓗 has sent 3 more of his pawns to attempt infiltration, and they start easily breaching the line of traps set up by Team 𝓗𝓗𝓷𝓽𝓪𝓲. 𝓗𝓮𝓷𝓽𝓪𝓲 and 𝓗𝓗 begin fighting and are low-key getting packed up, but 𝓗𝓮𝓷𝓽𝓪𝓲 claps back. 𝓗𝓗, meanwhile, is a combination of all 8 of 𝓗𝓗's pawns, so he uses his buff stats to dodge and run away, distracting the enemy pawns. Both sides start to get serious, and 𝓗𝓗 uses a perverted trick to temporarily defeat the opponent. While they are confused, 𝓗𝓗 and 𝓗𝓮𝓷𝓽𝓪𝓲 leave the battlefield quickly, and 𝓗𝓮𝓷 nukes it with lightning, defeating the enemies. Next, 𝓗𝓗 directs 𝓗𝓮𝓷𝓽𝓪𝓲 and 𝓗𝓗 to meet up with 𝓗𝓗 and annihilate the enemies he has trapped with a magic circle. As they try to meet up with 𝓗𝓗 to reinforce him, the queen of Team 𝓗𝓗 uses magic to knock out 𝓗𝓮𝓷𝓽𝓪𝓲, taking 𝓗𝓗𝓷's rook. 𝓗𝓮𝓷 quickly arrives to deal with the enemy queen in order to protect and free up 𝓗𝓗. 𝓗𝓗 runs away and meets up with 𝓗𝓗, who just finished beating the 3 pieces he had trapped. The remaining number of pieces for 𝓗𝓗 is now 9, and for 𝓗𝓗's is 5. In order to increase their odds of winning, 𝓗𝓗 decides on a bold move, with her and her bishop 𝓗𝓗 launching a surprise attack on the enemy's main base, while 𝓗𝓗 and 𝓗𝓗 distract as many enemies as possible. 𝓗𝓗 and 𝓗𝓗 are soon confronted by 𝓗𝓗's knight, who seems pretty confident in herself. 𝓗𝓗 starts to battle one-on-one with the knight, while 𝓗𝓗 is confronted by an enemy rook. 𝓗𝓗 quickly defeats the enemy rook in his usual perverted way, while 𝓗𝓗 gains the advantage against the enemy knight. Seeing 𝓗𝓗 defeat the rook, 𝓗𝓗's remaining pieces get serious and all gang up on him, jumping the hell out of him. At this time, 𝓗𝓗 finally shows himself and begins to confront 𝓗𝓗 in a king-on-king battle. Using his Mickey Mouse dragon powers, 𝓗𝓗 powers up one of 𝓗𝓗's attacks and takes out 3 pawns, 2 knights, and 1 bishop in an instant. In retaliation, 𝓗𝓗 defeats 𝓗𝓮𝓷𝓽𝓪𝓲 and 𝓗𝓗, leaving the battle of 3 versus 2, with a king, bishop, and pawn on one side, and a king and queen on the other. If this was a chess match, Team 𝓗𝓗𝓷𝓽𝓪𝓲 would be close to getting mated. 𝓗𝓗 boasts that he will take all of them on alone and flexes his power. 𝓗𝓗 is quickly taken out, and 𝓗𝓗 is on the brink of death, exhausted from overusing his abilities. 𝓗𝓗, being the dirty player he is, threatens to kill 𝓗𝓗 and tells 𝓗𝓗 everyone will think it was an accident. This finally breaks 𝓗𝓗 and causes her to resign from the match. Overall, I think 𝓗𝓗 did as well as she could have for being that outnumbered. Individually, her pieces were on average stronger than the enemy, so constantly putting them in situations where they might be outnumbered was a ballsy but sound and necessary strategy. Overall, that was a wonderfully complex battle, and I highly recommend watching the show even if you don't like the softcore porn aspect. Everything I've showcased today is contained in the first season, as I didn't want to get into future events, so you have 3 whole seasons left to watch unspoiled. The fights and power systems develop even more as time goes on, with more mythologies being introduced into the world and our main team getting stronger. Highschool DxD as a whole is just a fun ride, and the power system definitely enhances the show by making everything more complex and showing off that pure power doesn't win a fight. I love how despite 𝓗𝓗 having the most broken abilities in the series, he still gets bodied by a well thought out and executed plan. This was a bit of a strange video, but I hope you guys don't mind, and comment below what you want to see next. I'll see you next time.